Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're all about the positive vibes here on the show, and I've got a very special guest with me today. He is a professional wrestler, booker, announcer. He works currently for AIWF Wrestling, which is the sanctioning body of independent pro wrestling. Pleased to welcome the one and only Matt Classic. Matt,
Thanks
welcome to the
Stanley.
podcast. Yeah, it's my pleasure. So we'll get into it. Tell me about your background and upbringing. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Gastonia, North Carolina. That's right outside Charlotte, but I've lived in Greensboro the past 20 years.
Wow. North Carolina is a big wrestling town. A lot of people come through the area.
Oh,
Huge
yeah.
territory.
Oh, yeah, definitely. North Carolina's great. I mean, we're a hotbed for wrestling still to this day. I mean, it was huge here throughout the 80s, 90s, etc.
Yeah. Were you at WrestleCade last year?
I haven't been to WrestleCade in a couple years, but my good friends Tracy and Brian run it, and it's an awesome event.
I was there over at the convention center, getting to meet so many different people. It's huge. If you've never been before to WrestleCade, I highly recommend going because you'll meet like so many different legends and just all kinds of people in the business. And the fans, getting to see the fans and for the fans to meet their favorite wrestlers, that's an awesome feeling. So it was a really cool event. 3 days.
Yeah, I know they had over 10,000 people there about every year, so that's amazing.
It is really is awesome. When you've gone to WrestleCade before, tell me about your experience.
Oh, WrestleCade, it was fun. I went to the first one that Tracy and Brian had. I've known both of them for years, and I mean, it was just a great experience. But it's gotten bigger and bigger every year. So
Yeah, it's been huge. So let's start talking about your upbringing as far as the wrestling business is concerned. What got you into professional wrestling?
well, what got me into professional wrestling? I mean, I always went to the shows, watched on TV. My dad, he would take me any show within like an hour of our house in Gastonia, we'd go to it. So that's how I got into it in the first place. But then I trained and I got into the business, and then I transitioned to the side I'm on now, which is the administrative side. And like I said, I've been with the AIWF for the past 17 years. So
Amazing. Well, so when you watched wrestling growing up, who were like your favorites that you just idolized?
oh, Ric Flair was definitely my idol. I mean, fellow North Carolina guy. I mean, Ric Flair is like a god around these parts.
Oh, no kidding. He's just a living legend, and he's wrestled so many greats of the business. Guys like Undertaker and Triple H, and even back earlier with Hogan and with Dusty Rhodes. I mean, he's put on so many classics. Sting.
Oh yeah,
Goodness
Ric Flair,
gracious.
he's amazing. He puts on a great show always. I mean, we actually worked with his son Reed Flair before his untimely passing in the AIWF.
Mm. So, what do you think of his daughter?
I mean, Charlotte, she's an amazing talent. She's super athletic. I mean, she's obviously attractive. I mean, she's been a multi-time women's champion, so I mean, she's earned her due.
Yeah, she has. She's carrying on the legacy. So many legends, like I said earlier, have come through North Carolina, especially, Ric Flair's an icon. Um, Now you watched wrestling growing up and idolized so many of these people. What made you decide like I've got to do this?
I mean, that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do is be in wrestling. And I mean, I've had the pleasure of, like I said, I've wrestled, I've promoted in 6 different states, I've booked multiple events. Like I say, I run the AIWF. If people don't know what that is, we're the largest global alliance in pro wrestling today. We have over 130 promotions in 44 countries and fighting championships around the country. And we've been in operation since 1992.
So cool. So wrestling's been in your blood. That's something that you knew from an early age. I've got to get into this. So you started training under the tutelage of Chief Jay Eagle. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Chief Jay Eagle's a legend. I mean, he's famous for training the one man gang. He also ran in South Carolina for over 35 years until actually this past year.
Unbelievable. So you found out about a school. You said, I got to do this. How was
Well,
that? How?
I already knew Mr. Eagle because I'd been to his shows and I'd helped out and whatever. And so I said, hey, I started training somewhere else. It didn't work out so well. So I went to Mr. Eagle and, he trained me. And I mean, it was a great learning experience.
What happened in the beginning? You said you went somewhere else. Did it just you, what happened?
I mean, it just didn't fit me where I went. I mean, they're good guys. I made good friends there, but it didn't fit me. And I mean, well, you have to fit where you're going to go. So I'll say that.
So you started up with Jay Eagle, Chief Jay Eagle. He
Yeah,
trained
great.
you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the training process for you. It's just
I mean, he's a rough and tumble guy. I mean, I wouldn't say he hurt me or anything like that, but you definitely you felt his presence, and he's going to work you till you figure it out. So, and
it's
he still wrestles to this day, and he's close to 70 years old. So,
oh man, that's yeah. I
'cause-
mean, it's great to
'cause
see that you're
let me tell you this funny story about him real
yeah
quick.
yeah yeah yeah.
My partner, Rick Diesel in the AIWF, who Rick founded the AIWF in '92. He'd been wrestling since '87. His first match was against Chief Jay Eagle in 1987.
That's funny. That's so cool. So you learn from him. It's not easy becoming a wrestler. Yet it just requires so much discipline and conditioning and all these different things that you have to go through. What was your experience like? Breaking
I
in the
mean,
business.
it's a world of hot dogs and handshakes, and I mean, you're performing. You're trying to make your money at the gimmick table and survive. That's all I can say.
And you were doing like all these different things too, like putting up the rings and going to shows
Oh
and
yeah, oh
setting
yeah,
things up.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, they're always going to start you as a referee. I mean, everybody that I know started as a referee, and they worked themselves up. So.
Well, you've worked in all these different capacities. What's something that you can tell me that you've learned from each one of them that's kind of helped you grow as an individual that's wanting to be in the business?
I mean, until I ran a show, I did not know like how stressful it was to actually put on a show. And I personally ran shows in 6 states at this point. So like, but you have to know your market. You have to like know your fans. Marketing, advertising is your biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna sell tickets, you're not gonna have a show to go to. And so what you had to do was you had to put together a plan, say, hey, I want this to be one of the biggest events of all time, one of the biggest events in the area, and you have to find a way to make that work. And so it's tough out there, but it seems like you're
Oh
able to
yeah,
do that.
yeah, and definitely like don't. I mean, there's a good chance you're going to lose money if you promote an event. So I mean, don't you keep to your budget and stick to it. That's all I can say.
When you're doing these things, when you're putting on these shows, there's a lot of work, like I said, that goes into it. What's the fun part for you of putting together an event like this?
Well, when it's over,
Really?
yeah, when it's over, like that's when I'm the happiest. But honestly, like this is how I've did it, and it's been very successful for the majority. I've usually partnered with someone that has a building, so I don't have to worry about setting up a ring or none of that. They usually have everything set up and ready to go. And all I gotta do is just advertise and put the card together and get sponsors. So I mean, a lot of people don't have that luxury, unfortunately.
I'd imagine it's hard at times to be able to find people that you can get to sponsor the event. What's the
It,
process for you?
oh, it definitely is. I mean, my best way to do it, like if I'm not living there locally, I get the local promoter to go out and I kind of give them some headway if they've not did a lot. But a lot of the ones I worked with have did this quite a while, even longer than me, so they know who to talk to in town. And I mean, I would rather have $10, $20 sponsorships than $100 sponsorship. So I mean, you got to kind of shoot your bar low.
Now you've been a part of the AIWF now since 2010. Is that right?
But yeah, I'd say about 2009, I think.
2009.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
What got you involved with that particular company? Because you've been wrestling all around the area before then, right? Before you
Yeah,
joined
yeah.
up with
Well, at
them.
the time, I was already done with wrestling. I was working for a local promotion in Lexington, High Point, North Carolina, and they actually joined the AIWF. That's how I met Mr. Rick Diesel, and I started working for him, and then I've got to my current capacity, which is executive director. So I'm the one that pretty much runs all the day-to-day operations at this point, and it's been like that for a little while now.
Well, when you have like such a huge organization like this is, I mean, you're talking about a true system that
Oh yeah, it's
helps.
global.
Yeah, like a lot of people like come through this area, and so they go to different promotions, but it's like affiliated with one. It's like running the territories.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's bringing the territories to a modern day, and I mean I hate to say it like this, but we're a loose alliance. I don't put a lot of pressure on who's affiliated with us. I mean, I communicate with them. I try to communicate with everybody at least on a monthly basis to know what's going on in their area. But we don't say like, hey, you gotta do this, hey, you gotta do that. But I mean, we do have some basic rules, but other than that, we keep it pretty light and simple with each other.
Seems like a very laid back environment.
You have to be, because I mean, wrestling, everybody wants to slit your throat.
When you're putting together these shows, I'd imagine you have the local talent, plus you get some big names coming from some of the bigger companies or like legends that have worked in bigger companies that have come through. Who are some of the people that you can tell me?
Oh yeah, we've had I've had on shows and I've presented. I've had Ricky Morton, which Ricky's a great guy. I've known him for years. We've had George South. I mean, I've known George South since I was 5 years old. I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 this year. So,
Oh.
Mike Logan, former world champion. He's toured the globe. I had Jimmy Ray before his untimely passing.
Yeah, I mean those are some big names right there, and this organization's been growing. It's so amazing to see how it's turned out for the company. A lot of people like, again, hopefully this can really be something special in the future.
Oh yeah, we're definitely working on it. And like I say, I like to see the next generation. Like I saw Cedric Alexander from his third match to where he is today. We had Andre Chase, who used to be one of the Bravados. My partner trained him, so I mean, I've seen lots of guys come up through the ranks.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how
Wheeler Yuta on AEW. He used to be Alex Kai. He trained at the AEW Wrestling School in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
nice. See, it's like you never know who's gonna walk through and become a big star. It's just a who's
Yeah,
who of people.
definitely. And
Oh,
I think that's the fun part. And Ricky Morton told me one time, he's like, you got to be the same going up the ladder as going down, because everybody, we're going to try to reach that pinnacle, but eventually once we hit the pinnacle, we're coming down.
and so this organization's been around for a long time now, and it's still growing. You guys have done a lot of charity work too. Tell me about some of the organizations you've partnered up with.
Oh, charity work. Yeah, we did a lot. We did with Special Olympics. We've raised money for several high schools and their athletic departments. I mean, we did a lot to help our local communities. We did food drives. I mean, that's a staple, obviously. And I mean, a lot of people, they've had, medical issues like cancer, or like they lost their home due to a fire. We've had a lot of charity shows for people over the years.
It's always good to give back. And so was there a particular show or something that you've done in your community that really sticks out in your mind that was like one of your favorites?
Yeah, my buddy Henry, he runs a charity show every year for Fox Kids. They raise money for the coats for the kids, and that's been a really big thing. And like we've raised, I think, over 5,000 coats over the past 4 years.
Oh wow. That's pretty neat. I mean, it seems like a lot of the kids that unfortunately can't afford nice clothes, nice coats like that were able to have that.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. And like I said, we partnered with the local Fox News, and it did very well. And like I said, Henry, that's who I was actually working with before when he joined the AIWF. That's how I got involved, because I'd worked for him for about 2 years prior to that.
Yeah. Any chance we'll see you in the ring at one of the shows?
No, I'm done with that part of my life, and I mean I'm running these shows, and I mean we're being as successful as possible, and we're always ever expanding and growing, and we're doing well overall.
Yeah, definitely seems like you are. Why do you feel passionate about giving back to your community?
I mean, your community is where you live, and I mean you never know when you're going to need that helping hand back. And I mean, I'm going to talk about my personal life a little bit here. My personal life, I'm in the mental health sector. So I deal with a lot of like VA housing and VA mental health, and also, autism, Down syndrome, et cetera, et cetera. And me and my wife actually have a nonprofit, ABA, which we deal mostly with autism. And so we did very well, and it's provided well for us, but it's also we've given back. And I've seen people like that weren't talking start talking, and like that's amazing to me.
It's definitely like eye-opening too.
Yeah, because my wife, she's a therapist, so she's a speech and verbal and ABA therapist. So,
How long has she been involved with that?
oh God, like 20 years probably.
That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So it's good. I mean, I handle more of the simple stuff, but like I said, I'm glad to make a positive impact in a lot of people's lives through that.
Yeah.
And like I said, we deal with a lot of like veteran causes because my father served, so did my father-in-law. So we've helped them get placed in veterans housing, help their needs and all that. And it's been good for my community.
Well, definitely seems like you have made a positive impact, and I'm sure like a lot of the kids that you're working with at that organization, they really take a liking to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. We gave a lot of wrestling tickets out to like service organizations for the veterans. We get a lot for like the mental health groups, like for like the local day groups and local like calls like Easter Seals and all that. And they love it. We had about 100 one time at a show, and they loved it. They yeah, it was
That's so
awesome.
cool. It's really important that you're able to keep going and be able to give back. And so
Yeah,
this has
because
been
like
wonderful.
I said, you never know when you're going to need help, and I mean, you form a lot of meaningful relationships by helping people out, and it's good for your community because I mean, I like where I live in Greensboro, but it can be rough here.
Mm. Yeah, it's just you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and it's
And
always
like you
important.
never know if you're not going to wake up or not. Because I've had that. I honestly have had that happen a lot in the past month. I've had guys just they went to sleep and they didn't wake up. And they were close to my age or maybe a few years older, and like, they just didn't wake up.
Really?
Yeah, Francisco Ciazza. I don't know if you saw him passing. Down in Florida. He's 48 years old. He passed away in
Yeah,
his sleeper.
Yeah, I did hear about that. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah, he's a former AIWF
so
World America
tragic.
Reigning Tag Team Champion with us. And Frankie was a great guy. I mean, you always didn't see eye to eye with the man, but you respected him, and he did a lot, and he got a lot of these boys to the next level.
Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Uh, it's sad. It really is. But yeah, Matt, this has been wonderful getting the chance to talk with you. Uh, and again, I'd love to have you come back on the podcast in the near future. Where can people find more about you and the AIWF and
You
how
can
to get
hit
in
me up
touch with you?
at Matt Classic on the Facebook. You can email me at matt_classic@yahoo.com. Check out our Facebook at AIWF Wrestling. We also got Instagram and X, as Mr. Elon Musk calls it.
All right. Well, thank you again, Matt. You're more than welcome to come back on the show.
All right, thanks so much, Stanley. You have a great night, brother.
Are you too? Bye bye.
Bye bye.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.